Hello and welcome to this continuation of our first looks at the Towneley play. You may get a sense of deja vu watching this introduction, as it may be available in 3 separate videos across this series, as this session, as we're recording it, is covering several different plays that are going to be broken up into several different videos. So, as I say, you may get a sense of, hang on, I've seen this one before, but you haven't, because the bit that follows is going to be different. So there. Reading today a selection that may or may not feature in the video you're about to watch. Reading Martha, First Torturer, and Mary Jacobi is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and some people will call me other things during this week.
Reading Jesus, Froward, Doctor Number 1, and Mary Magdalene is...
Liza Graham, actor, singer, and text coach to actors in London.
Reading John Annis, Third Torturer is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good, I'm a historian, and I'm in London.
And reading Thomas, Mary, Caiaphas, Pilate, and Simon is...
Hello, I'm Lalitte, I'm a teacher, and I'm from Paris.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be variously reading possibly Peter Lazarus, Second Torturer, and Judas, depending on the play. And now you may or may not have a really awkward jump cut, as we all suddenly slightly change position, depending on which video you're watching. Following that awkward jump cut, we're now looking at from the Towneley play, we're looking at the final play in the sequence, The Hanging of Judas, play 32. It's the final play in the manuscript, not necessarily in the sequence. In fact, I'm not quite sure where it's going to live in the playlists that we'll produce for these on YouTube. So I might pull it in twice. Once approximately where it lives chronologically, and then again at the end where it lives. We don't even know for certain. It's a play. It's a speech. It's a speech we can say is by Judas. And in fact, I haven't explicitly allocated a reader for it. I'm down technically to read it, but I don't think I should. So who wants to be Judas?
Rob, we all want to see you do it.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Lalitte's
Yes.
hand went up.
I know, but I'd rather you did it. I'm sure you'd do it better. Because I haven't practiced it, so I'll probably really mess it up.
Well, nobody's practiced it.
Practicing isn't allowed.
No.
Well, I'll do it if Rob won't, but I think you should
Well,
do it,
you
Rob.
know, it's lovely to have somebody other than me talking. It's always nice.
Here we are. Alas and lass and well away, wearied and cursed I have been, aye. I slew my father and sin belay my mother dear, and falsely after I can betray mine own master. My father's name was Reuben Wright, Sibaria my mother hight. As he her knew upon a night, all fleshly, in her sleep she see a sight, a great fair lay. Her thought there lay her side within, a loathly lump of fleshly sin, of which destruction should begin of all Jewry. That cursed clot of Cain's kin, forsooth was I. Dread of that sight made her awake, and all her body did tremble and quake. Her thought, her heart did all to break. No wonder was the first word my mother spake was, Alas, 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 she cried fast, and with on weeping she brast. My father waked at the last, and her afraid. She told him how she was aghast, and nothing lained. My father bade, Let be thy woo. My counsel is, if it be so, a child be getten betwixt us two. Daughter or son, let it never on earth go, but be fordon. Better it be fordone to be, than hit fordo both thee and me. For in a while then shall we see, and full well know, whether that sferthens be vanity, or on to trow. The time was common that I was born, and my mother said beforn, Alas, that I had been forlorn within her side, for there when sprung a shrewd thorn that spread full wide. For I was born withouten grace, and they named and called me Judas. the father of the child I has great pity. He might not foil afore his face my death to see, my dead to see him then might he naught. A little leap he gart be wrought, and there I was in bed brought, and bonden fast. To the salt sea then they sought, and in me cast. The wars rose, the wind blew, that I was cursed, full well they knew. The storm unto the isle me threw, that little boat, and of that land my name to drew, Judas Iscariot. There as wreck in sand I lay, the queen come passing thereaway, with her maidens to sport and play. And privily a child she fond in slick array, and had me fairly. Nevertheless she was well paid, and on her lap she me laid. She me kissed and with me played, for I was fair. A child God has me send, she said, to be mine heir. She made me to be Norris done, and fostered at her own son, and told the king that she had gone all the year with child, and with fair words as women can, she him beguiled. And then the king got made confessed to all the land of the best, for that he had getten a guest, a sweetly thing, when he were dead and brought to rest. That might be king. Son after, within years two, in the land it befell so, the queen herself with child can go. A son she bare, a fairer child from top to toe, man never did see ere.
And thus is all we get. And yeah, it's a bit of backstory about Judas. It's a complicated backstory. There's more to go. It's going to end with murder, I think.
The ill-chosen one. Oh dear.
Yeah, murder and possible incest, I think, is how it all sort of goes. It's a weird story. It's not. It's strange.
Very weird.
Yeah, and again, it's a big question as to whether it's technically a play at all, whether it's just a narrative poem of some description that's ended up in the end of the manuscript.
Yeah. So why is it mixing it up with Moses? This is what I'm puzzled by, because it is the Moses story, isn't it?
Well, it's a slightly different direction as to where it's going. It's not quite the same, but the parallels may or may not be deliberate. Because the queen that's adopted him, he's going to murder her actual child. I think later on, and then he's going to kill his own father, and it's all going to be complicated. It's weird and complicated, and I don't quite understand it.
I mean, so 30 bits of silver thing wasn't enough.
Yeah. Liza.
Sorry, Helen, please go ahead.
No, burbling.
Okay, so I'm a huge nerd, and in the 90s, if you read comic books, like your favorite characters that you'd been reading about, people would publish these books with these characters' origin story, and because it was the 90s, it would be hard-hitting, and everyone would be wearing spikes, and it would be terrible, and there would be lots of murder and possibly sexual assault, because Alan Moore, so this is basically what we in the comics world call a retcon, that is retroactive continuity. They have retconned Judas's origin story so that he's so that he's super angsty and evil.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that Judas is also God's instrument. Like he is carrying out what has been foretold to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, no Judas, no
unfortunately,
resurrection.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of anti-Semitism also tends to get heaped on Judas. He tends to... There's something in here about the wreck of all Jewry, and And, people forget Jesus was also Jewish. So was his mom. So was his dad.
So was everyone apart from Pilate in this narrative. They're all Jewish. So this narrative, which is moving in a sort of general Oedipal direction of murdering his father, sleeping with his mother, and then being sent away to do penance, it's a really weird sort of retcon thing that's going on here. It's very odd. Helen?
Yes, well, I think that kind of solves the problem. We now know what it is. My feeling is that it's a bit of a poem. It doesn't sound to me at all play-like. I don't think I've been with you when you've read A Hanging of Judas. Have you had one?
We have. It's been incorporated in other bits. So basically, there'll be Annas, Caiaphas, and Pilate will be having a meeting, and Judas will turn up and go, "I'm a bit sad," and then he'll say, "I'm going to go off and kill myself." And,
and they have to decide what to do with the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes. But this whole thing seems to me to have been. It was something that the clerk who pull the manuscript together had and put on at the end.
I think it's a later hand as well, so it might just be that we've got some leaves at the end of the manuscript. This feels like some good stuff to put in.
There's
Have the rest of it anywhere.
Sorry,
there's definitely a ballad of Judas that touches on a lot of these points. I'm not sure about the date of the ballad, but when I heard it sung, the diction sounded a lot like Middle English.
This was slightly different from the other. It felt different to read. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's the language is a little bit more sort of refined. I think I don't know. It's been a very different read from the other things so far.
It's more poetic and less going anywhere.
Oh yes, he's just relating his terrible life. He slew my father and belay my mother dear. So very little actually to do with the biblical narrative as we know it. Eric?
I was going to say that technically, psychologically, it might be interesting to look at this as a sort of, profile of Judas, because, he kind of, it's basically an abused kid who then, ends up being adopted into another family, and then, that cycle of violence perpetuates, right?
Any more on the Hanging of Judas? Because I don't even know if you can call it the Hanging of Judas, because it at no point really goes in that direction. Actually, I was just thinking this thing that's been added to it to say that it's the Hanging of Judas. I'm just checking if that's textual or it does say it above it in the manuscript, Suspensio Judo. But does he mention rope at any point or suspension?
No.
So that's weird. On that note, we're now going to go to an awkward jump cut, unless not, in which case. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.